We are kicking off a brand new series this week called The Great Unknowns. And I want to look at 6 different people in the Bible that we don't normally talk about. Now, in the Bible, there are some that are very popular, some that are known around the world throughout history. We know figures like King David. We know about the Apostle Paul. We know about Jesus. Right? There are some of the biggies that we talk about a lot. But there are a lot of minor characters in the Bible that don't get a lot of attention. So for the next few weeks, we're going to be doing this series called The Great Unknowns, talking about some of the lesser known characters in the Bible. And we're going to start with this girl named Dinah in Genesis 34. Now, Dinah is an interesting person. She doesn't really have a voice, even though the story is about her. And what we're going to see is the Bible's original Romeo and Juliet story. They fall in love, but they fall in love with the wrong people because the families don't like each other. And so his family says, oh no, she's not the right one for you. And her family says, no, he is not right for you. This is not okay. And in Genesis 34, the story of Dinah, we see this original Romeo and Juliet story about a guy who falls in love with the wrong gal. And it does not end well. And we're going to see some heavy themes about pride and forgiveness and how we handle offense. Because let's face it, being offended is inevitable. You cannot go through life without getting offended in some way. The key question is, how are you going to respond when you're offended? Are we going to respond like Dinah's family that we're going to take a look at? Or are we going to respond in a way that Jesus calls us to respond? Here we go. Genesis chapter 34. And we're going to read the whole story and then talk about some things that we can take away from the story. Genesis 34, starting at verse 1. Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Jacob, went out to see the women of the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, the prince of the land, saw her, he seized her and lay with her and humiliated her. And his soul was drawn to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob. He loved the young woman and spoke tenderly to her. So Shechem spoke to his father Hamor, saying, "Get me this girl for my wife." All right, we're going to pause here for a second. Now, traditionally, this story has been called the rape of Dinah or the defiling of Dinah because she has been taken by this guy. But there's no malice. This is not a case of, this is not assault in the same way that we see it today. She just hooked up with the wrong dude. They love each other, and he wants to do the right thing and marry her. So he says to his father, hey, get me this woman as my wife. So he sees this girl. She's part of the Israelite group. He is not. They hook up. He falls in love. He tells his dad, I want this woman to be my wife. Now Jacob, this is verse 5, now Jacob heard that he had defiled his daughter Dinah, but his sons were with the livestock in the field, so Jacob held his peace until they came. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out to Jacob to speak with him. The sons of Jacob had come in from the field as soon as they had heard of it, and the men were indignant and very angry, because he had done an outrageous thing in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter, for such a thing must not be done. And such a thing that's not done, he didn't go through the right channels. He didn't go through the father. He didn't say, I want to marry your daughter. He just went and did it himself. And in certain societies, you don't handle romance and interaction by yourself. You have to go through the right channels. So he did not go through the right channels. He did it in a completely selfish, inappropriate way because he saw this woman. He's like, oh, I love her. But now they are offended. And now they are saying, he has defiled our sister. He did not do the right thing. And poor Dinah remains voiceless through the whole story. She is just used in the story, and the men in her life are the ones who are beating their chests like angry gorillas, trying to jockey for position. They were indignant and angry. Verse 8, but Hamor spoke with them, saying, the soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him to be his wife. Make marriages with us. Give your daughters to us and take our daughters for yourself. You shall dwell with us, and the land shall be open to you. Dwell and trade in it, and get property in it. Shechem also said to her father and to her brothers, let me find favor in your eyes. And whatever you say to me, I will give. Ask me for a great bride price and a gift as you will, and I will give whatever you say to me. Only give me the young woman to be my wife. Right? Does this sound like a dude who is a predator? No, he's offering everything he has because this dude is head over heels in love. This is the woman that I want to be my wife. Ask me for whatever, and I'll give it. The sons of Jacob answered Shechem and his father Hamor deceitfully. All right? Now, who is the bad guy in this story? Now, initially, we think it's going to be this guy, Shechem, the prince of the land, but he's trying to do what's right. He's trying to do what's honorable. He's trying to care for this woman that he loves. Who are the ones who are being deceitful? Dinah's brothers. They are deceitful. They are the villains of this story. They answered him deceitfully because he had defiled their sister Dinah. They said to them, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to one who is uncircumcised, for that would be a disgrace to us. Only on this condition will we agree with you, that you will become as we are by every male among you being circumcised. Then we will give our daughters to you. We will take your daughters to ourselves, and we will dwell with you and become one people. But if you will not listen to us and be circumcised, then we will take our daughter, and we will be gone. Their words pleased Hamor and Hamor's son Shechem. And the young man did not delay to do the thing because he delighted in Jacob's daughter. Now he was the most honored of all his father's house. So Hamor and his son Shechem came to the gate of their city and spoke to the men of their city, saying, these men are at peace with us. Let them dwell in the land and trade in it. For look, the land is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters as wives and give them our daughters. Only on this condition will the men agree to dwell with us to become one people, when every male among us is circumcised as they are circumcised. Will not their livestock, their property, and all their beasts be ours? Only let us agree with them, and they will dwell with us. And all who went out of the gate of his city listened to Hamor and his son Shechem, and every male was circumcised, all who went out of the gate of his city. Now, I'm going to say, out of the entire Bible, this is the greatest act of salesmanship you have ever seen or will ever see. This dude convinced a bunch of grown men to be circumcised as adults. Now, when we circumcise babies, they don't remember it. They don't remember the pain, the feeling. They grow up and they don't know any different. That's just how they are. But for grown men to say, you know what? I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to go through the circumcision. Please mutilate me because then we can marry and become one people. Holy crap. I don't think I would be able to do that. There is some pain that is just not worth it. So I see Shechem trying to convince grown men, hey, wouldn't it be awesome if we all got circumcised? I would be like, not me, brother. I know you love her, but that wouldn't be my wife. And it's not worth it to me just so that you can marry this love. But he convinced them to do it. Unbelievable salesmanship. And this is my favorite part. Verse 25. On the third day, when they were sore, you think? 3 days later, they're still in pain from being circumcised as grown men. On the third day, when they were sore, one of the best understatements in the entire Bible, two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, took their swords and came against the city while it felt secure and killed all the males. They killed Hamor and his son Shechem with the sword and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went away. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain and plundered the city because they had defiled their sister. They took their flocks and their herds, their donkeys, and whatever was in the city and in the field, all their wealth, all their little ones and their wives, all that was in the houses, they captured and plundered. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have brought trouble on me by making me stink to the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites and the Perizzites. My numbers are few, and if they gather themselves against me and attack me, I shall be destroyed, both I and my household." But they said, "Should he treat our sister like a prostitute?" Now, this is a story through one lens. We see it through their lens. They feel offended. They feel like they have been wronged. So when they talk about should he treat her like a prostitute, that is from them speaking in their offense. Did Shechem treat Dinah like a prostitute? No, he tried to marry her. He loved her. He wanted to give everything he had. He was willing to give up everything to be her husband. And where was she when her brothers came in and massacred everyone? She was already in his house. She has now been taken part of the family. So what they do by being deceitful and slaughtering Shechem and his people is that they have turned their sister into a widow. It's not Shechem who has wronged Dinah. It is her brothers who have wronged her because they cannot get over their offended sensibility. And what we can really take away, there are a few powerful lessons here. The first is this: the weight of offense when honor and pride take over us. When we respond to offense from a place of wounded pride or dishonor, we risk causing more destruction and more hurt than healing. These guys had a chance to make a healing relationship here, to do what was right by their sister and say, you know what, we're not happy with the way you did this, but let's work to make things better moving forward. But because they operated from their wounded pride, from their sense of dishonor, their honor would not allow them to heal and move forward. They were not outraged for their sister. They were outraged for their own sense of honor. Their response was extreme, it was disproportionate, and it was self-centered. They weren't thinking about her at all. They were thinking about themselves. And the proof is in the pudding, because when they went and they attacked Shechem and his family, they didn't just go get Dinah back. They plundered and looted and robbed the entire city. It was only about their own selfishness. It wasn't about Dinah at all. They used her more than her husband ever did. Shechem loved her, wanted to be with her. They are the ones who abused her, mistreated her, and let their wounded pride mess everything up. And in our lives, we have got to ask, are we responding to offense with a sense of wounded pride, or are we going to make something better? So here's the thing that we can do when we find that we are offended by something, by someone. We should stop and take a look in the mirror and ask ourselves, is my reaction about healing, or is it about asserting some sort of control? Am I looking for restoration, or am I looking for revenge? Dinah's brothers had an opportunity for restoration, but they only pursued revenge. The second thing that we can really look at here is that there's a missed opportunity for grace. Shechem loved Dinah, spoke to her tenderly, wanted to marry her, and they had an opportunity to respond in grace. We're not happy with the way you did this. However, let's move forward in grace. When we are wronged, are we willing to extend grace, to find an open door to move forward in a healthy way and make things right? Or are we going to reject it and remain hostile. Sometimes we like to keep people indebted to our pain. I'm going to say that one again. Sometimes we like to keep other people indebted in our pain. You've hurt me. You've wronged me. If I forgive you and I extend grace, then I don't get to hold on to that anymore, and that lets you off the hook. And I don't want to let you off the hook because I want you to suffer as much as I have suffered. That's not very godly, but it is very human. It's very natural to want payback, isn't it? Someone has hurt me, I want them to hurt. I've had to suffer, so I want you to suffer in the exact same way, the exact same amount. I don't need you to suffer more than me, but I want you to suffer the same as me. And we miss an opportunity to extend grace. The final thing that we can look at is the way of Jesus calls us to forgive and to restore. We're going to jump over to the Gospels. Matthew chapter 18. You don't have to turn there. I'll read it to you for a second. But I really want you to hear this. Peter came up to Jesus and said to him, "Lord, how often will my brother sin against me and I forgive him? As many as 7 times?" Now I think Peter is trying to be a big guy here, trying to show Jesus like how magnanimous he is. Hey, Jesus, if somebody does something to me, how many times should I forgive? 7 times? That seemed like, ooh, because like, man, once you get to like 2 or 3, most of us are done, right? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you can't fool me again, see? Someone messes with us one time, okay, we'll forgive. The second time, no, we're done. Peter comes up and says, hey, Jesus, what if I forgive 7 times? Jesus said to him, I do not say to you 7 times, but 77 times. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who wished to settle accounts with the servants. When he began to settle, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. And since he could not pay, his master ordered him to be sold with his wife and children and all that he had, and payment to be made. So the servant fell on his knees, imploring him, have patience with me, and I will pay you everything. And out of pity for him, the master of that servant released him and forgave him the debt. But when that servant came out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii. And seizing him, he began to choke him, saying, and picture Homer Simpson choking Bart, why, you little? Pay what you owe. So his fellow servant fell down and pleaded with him, have patience with me, and I will pay you. He refused and went and put him in prison until he should pay the debt. When his fellow servants saw what had taken place, they were distressed, and they reported to their master what had taken place. Then the master summoned him and said, you wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt because you pleaded with me. And should not you have had mercy on your fellow servant as I had mercy on you? And in anger, his master delivered him to the jailers until he should pay all his debt. So also my heavenly Father will do to every one of you if you do not forgive your brother from your heart. Now this is heavy. Jesus gives an example of a servant being forgiven an enormous debt that could never be paid back. And then after being forgiven, the servant turns around and refuses to forgive a peer a very small debt. And Jesus says, how can you refuse to forgive when you have been forgiven for so much? And we can put ourselves in these shoes. Look at how God has forgiven us. You haven't earned forgiveness. There's nothing you can do to make yourself worthy of being forgiven. No matter how good you are not good enough. And I'm putting myself in the same place. It's us. It's not you, it's us. We can try real hard, but we just can't be good enough because God's standard is so high. I cannot do enough to get up there. And that's where grace and forgiveness comes in for us. God has forgiven us freely. He extends grace that we haven't earned and that we don't deserve. And Jesus says, how can you receive God's grace and then not turn around and forgive other people. And Jesus says, God's grace is without limit. Why are you trying to limit yours? So this morning, I want you to think of somebody who has offended you, someone who has wronged you in some way. Are you willing to forgive them 70 times 7? Not just the one time, but habitually choosing grace over revenge, choosing healing over suffering. This morning, I want you guys to remember that offense is inevitable, but revenge is optional. Dinah's brothers had an opportunity to extend their family influence, to have a position within the land and join the people, but they refused because their pride said, we want you to suffer for the injustice that you have done to us. Like Dinah's brothers, we can turn offense into bloodshed, or we can be like Jesus and turn it into blessing. So then how do we do that? I got some practical suggestions for you as we wrap up. First, pause before you react and ask, is my response rooted in pride or God's righteousness? Is this me or is this God? Secondly, pursue understanding. Have a hard conversation rather than holding on to your bitterness. And third, extend grace and restoration, even when it's not deserved, because that's what God has done to us.